Welcome to Nature Calls, Conversations from the Hudson Valley. Our team's goal is to present science-based information about gardening and all things nature in New York's Hudson Valley. Our hosts are Master Gardener volunteers for the Cornell Cooperative Extension of Columbia and Greene counties, midpoint along the Hudson River Valley. So if you're interested in gardening or nature or just nuggets of information about what's happening outside your door, listen in and enjoy the conversation. Whatever the season, we'll always have something to talk about.
Hi, I'm Tim Kennelty.
And I'm Jean Thomas.
And welcome to Nature Calls, Conversations from the Hudson Valley.
Our guest today is Shane Stevens, Natural Resource Program Coordinator and Regional Director of Cornell's Master Forest Owner Program for the Catskills and Lower Hudson. Shane, we want to talk to you today about the MFO program, Master Forest Owners. Can you give us an overview of the program?
Yeah, glad to be here today. Thank you. So we'll dive right in. The Master Forest Owners Program, or as you mentioned, MFO, began over 30 years ago, around 1991, to provide private woodland owners of New York State with the information and encouragement necessary to manage their forests wisely and make informed decisions. The program was organized by Cornell Cooperative Extension and many sponsors, including the USDA, New York Forest Owners Association, and more, including private donors.
So, Shane, I was fortunate to take training for the Master Forest Owners a few years ago and have participated for a couple of years. It's a wonderful program, and I would highly recommend it to anybody who's interested and has some forest to get training because it's really, really interesting, and I think it's really helpful to people. I looked at the website and I forgot that New York State has 14 million acres or more than 14 million acres of privately owned land. So how do you even cover that much territory? It's kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah, that's a great point. And thank you, Tim, for all the support volunteering with us in the MFO program. The 14 million privately owned woodlands represent roughly 75% of New York forests. Covering each parcel with a nonprofit volunteer-based program would be quite a task. The best we can do is to offer this free education and outreach to create a network of woodland enthusiasts sharing experiences to help us all steward the woods using the best management practices to reach our goals. Let's face it, those 14 million acres of private woodlands provide many public benefits, including clean air and water, carbon storage, forest products, jobs, scenic beauty, outdoor recreation opportunities, and more.
Okay, I got a couple size questions. The Adirondack Park, is that all privately owned or partly, or what's the
That's a good question. I would think that might be something that falls into maybe state property.
Yeah, so that wouldn't be something that we would use the MFO program for, but that's thousands of acres, right? That would be under state ownership. Yeah.
So the 14 million acres, that's specifically privately owned by just private woodland owners, you and me.
So doesn't include the Adirondack Park per se.
Right. So parks and recreational areas, they kind of fall into public lands.
Yeah. That's a huge area when you think about it in the state, that there's that much acreage that's still woodlands. That's pretty exciting.
And so it's managed by, you think, like the DEC then, as opposed to having master forest owners be part of that?
The DEC would probably manage that. It could be managed by the Forest Service if it's part of national woodlands. I'm not sure exactly.
All right. Some of it might be out of the city watershed.
The New York City watershed doesn't go that far north, I don't believe. I think we're furthest north in the Catskills.
Okay. Now let's talk about tiny woodlands. I own just a hair short of 3 acres, and my house fills up some of the space. And is there a minimum size of woods? Like if I want to call somebody to come look at my forest and assess it for me, or if I want to become a master forest owner, what's my status in that case?
We encourage woodland owners specifically to become volunteers, as they may have many different experiences they could share. Things such as timber harvesting, enrolling in tax reduction programs or cost share programs, estate planning, easements, and the general tending to the woods that they do. However, we also welcome woodland enthusiasts, anyone who's willing to share their best management practices and information and resources they've learned.
So if I have an acre of land, that's pretty much what I have. I have pretty much an acre of forest. I have 13 acres of land, but about an acre of forest, I could still become a master forest owner, right?
Right.
Volunteer.
Yeah, and so there's no real requirement of acreage and no prior knowledge needed to become a master forest owner or volunteer. At the end of the day, our mission is to share out these available resources and help point folks toward the information needed to make informed decisions or enjoy their forests, while also connecting with people with similar interests.
And I don't even know if we kind of really asked you this yet, and maybe I'm just assuming it because I've done it. So if I'm a forest owner and I want to have information, maybe make a forest management plan for my land, I'd somehow contact your organization on the website, and then a master forest owner would come out, right? And actually walk through the woods with you and answer your questions. Is that correct?
That's right. When it comes to more technical things, such as developing a management plan, we would recommend more of an expert or technical contractor, someone like a consulting forester. When we're looking at those precursors of what do we do to start, that's where our MFO volunteers come in. Let's help tease out your goals. Let's help tease out the interests that you have. Then the landowner can start thinking about a management plan and what they might want to do.
So that's really how it works, right? I mean,
Yeah. So
I'm a person out there, and I think this is a great resource. I'm a person out there who has, say, 14 acres of wooded lot, and I'm interested in having somebody come out and kind of answer questions for me. So what would I do?
yeah, typically a landowner could reach out to us either through our cooperative extensions all throughout the state, or they could search for us, cornellmfo.info, or simply search some keywords like Cornell MFO, Master Forest Owner, Forest Connect, and they can get in touch with us. That's where they can fill in this intake form. And on the form, there's various questions that will tease out those goals and interests. When we've received that, we then reach out to a volunteer in the nearby area. And that volunteer, they might have specific interests that align well. Sometimes I can find a volunteer specifically for certain interests, let's say like timber harvesting or cost share programs. And then we ask that volunteer to consider this visit request. We'll provide them the information, the intake form. And if they take on that visit, they'll schedule a time to visit with the landowner. Typically, the visits occur in mild weather, spring, summer, fall. Occasionally, there's some winter visits, but once the time frame is set and a volunteer can go out and visit with the landowner, they get together on the property, and really it's an informal conversation, as I like to think of it, just walking through the woods or nearby, getting some eyes on the landscape and offering some suggestions, advice, resources, things like that.
And one of the nice things about it, I think, is it's kind of personalized, right? It's not like you're looking at a website. If I own 14 acres, I can say like, hey, I don't really know what this tree is, or what do you think I should do in terms of some snags or something like that? I mean, very specific questions that you can ask as a forest owner.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of the volunteers have experience in tending to their woods. They can recognize a maple tree from an oak tree or a beech tree from an ash tree, and they can help identify some things. And then when you start identifying things, you start to see some of the invasives maybe or native species, and that can kind of swing you towards how to manage it. So these volunteers, they have a bit of experience tending to their own woods, and they bring that and help the landowner work through tending their woods.
And then I know what I always tried to do was take notes to some extent of what the person was interested in, and then send resources out after. So you've kind of digested that as the volunteer, and then you will send out whatever kind of resources, and then that person can then take a look at those and then follow up with questions if they have other questions.
Right. Typically, our volunteers will follow up a visit with an email that has some web links or resources that they just couldn't provide in the field. So that's a good opportunity for them to provide some additional information that maybe they didn't have right with them out in the woods.
So if I wanted to be a volunteer, what are the requirements?
We've gone hybrid now. So we offer the training through Zoom. And so we provide the new volunteer with content that they can review each week. And then we get together for 1 hour each week for 7 weeks to have a discussion on the topic of the night. Anything from forest ecology and silviculture to agroforestry, wildlife enhancements, things like that.
And what I found really great about the training was I was in a very large class when I took it, maybe 50 plus people. A lot of people who were on the line had a lot of experience and kind of shared their experiences who were taking the training. And I learned as much from them probably as some of the resources as well, because they had personally experienced those particular issues in their forest.
Yeah, it's really a great opportunity for folks who are interested in forests and preserving or protecting them. They come to us with, like I said, no prior knowledge. And by the end of the course, they've got a good grasp on how to get started stewarding their woods.
But you have an expectation as far as I know you reach out to people and ask if they're available to do the visits. As far as volunteers go, is there a particular number of hours that they need to fulfill within a particular year?
No, we don't actually have specific requirements or hours to reach.
Okay.
Typically, an MFO volunteer should expect to see 1 to 3 visits per year. And that number can kind of range too, depending on how engaged the volunteer wants to be with the program. Some volunteers do 7+ visits. Some volunteers are just doing like 1 or 2 per year. And then it also goes geographically too. There's some areas that are like hot spots where we'll receive several requests. And then there's other areas that we might only receive like 1 or 2 per year.
I have a question. Is to take the course, is there a test at the end?
Oh, Gene always wants to.
I always want to know if there's a test.
There's no test, but we do have, after the Zoom sessions, weeks later, we organize an in-person field day.
Which was great, which was really wonderful.
Yeah, and there's no test. It's a chance for us to all interact with each other.
Yeah.
And we're in person. We're able to visualize a lot of the topics that we talked about. In our region, we visit our Sayusla Model Forest here in Greene County. It's a place where we have demonstration areas that we can get some eyes on and share some discussion on each of these topics. Things like deer exclosures or our shiitake mushroom yard. Things like that.
I really like the way it's set up. So if Joe Blow buys a property and he wants it assessed, the fact that he has to fill out an assessment form of some sort to put in the request fine-tunes what it is he's asking, because people probably don't have any idea. So, yeah, I want this assessed. Like, well, what do you want it for? And so that will fine-tune him and then give the whoever comes out some ideas of what he's aiming for, and maybe be able to steer him into the best way to do what he has to do to maintain. So I think that's a really well thought out.
And I think it works really well. And I think, I mean, I was a little bit intimidated because I thought when I was taking the training and I went out on my first visit, I thought, what are these people going to ask me? A lot of times what you'll do is you'll partner kind of more experienced master forest owners who really kind of knew the lay of the land with newer people, correct?
Yeah, we typically partner up folks together if they're interested. Some folks like to do solo visits. As a requirement, we do have new volunteers go along with an existing volunteer on a couple of visits just so that they get comfortable and confident with visiting other landowners. It's not a requirement to partner up, but we do recommend it. It's just helpful and expand the conversations, and it's always good to have extra folks out in the woods.
And then if someone is really interested in, say, harvesting timber from their forest and the master forest owner isn't completely aware of all of the resources, you can recommend New York foresters that have that experience and actually do that job, correct?
There's several websites or places that folks can go to see a directory or list of consulting foresters or cooperating foresters. This is more of a non-technical conversation visit with landowners.
Right.
We wouldn't provide like that technical information like valuing my timber, things like that. We could help the landowner understand how it works. There's guides of measuring the tree and understanding the board footage. But as far as the current going value, someone like a forester could provide that kind of information.
So the volunteer would, after the visit, once they knew what the owner was looking for, could send them a referral list of foresters or whoever, depending on what he's looking for, that he could refer to.
We typically don't provide a specific person. However, we provide just an open general resource. that the landowner can take and
Okay,
make their
so
own
like a
decision.
foresters association or something, and then
Right.
go from there. Okay, rather than specific references.
Yes. For instance, one that comes to mind is New York State DEC has the cooperating foresters list. So it's regionally based, so you can go on there and see which region you fall in. And then there's a list of foresters by name, which region that they participate in. And you could then connect with them, call or email.
And you can
And set
assume
it
that
up.
they've been vetted to some extent by the DEC, or they wouldn't be on the list.
Right. Yeah. So to get on that list, there are specific credits that they have to continue with or
Okay.
certificates. Yeah. And then, of course, there's other organizations. You have the Society of American Foresters. We also have a great resource with mywoodlot.com. On there, there's a directory for certified foresters and loggers.
And tell us a little bit about what is Forest Connect? Forest Connect is something I know the master forest owners use, but the public can use it too as well, right?
So yeah, Forest Connect is this website filled with the resources on woodlands, farming, agricultural things, and specifically there's a site you can connect with master forest owners and see a lot of the resources that we actually learn and the volunteers actually see day in and day out. In addition to that, Forest Connect has their own YouTube channel where they post all webinars, so there's a large archive of various topics there.
And there's some really good webinars on that as well, yeah.
Yeah.
So if I were a forest owner and I'm thinking of writing in and getting a master forest owner to come to my property, I might even start with Forest Connect and kind of look at some of the resources, which might kind of jog my brain in terms of like what I was interested in my forest so I could fill out that form.
Right. As you sift through our Forest Connect website and you go through the various tabs, when you reach the Master Forest Owners tab and part for requesting a visit, there's a whole checklist there that you can run through to say, is a visit request what I'm looking for? If you're well in advance and you're ready to have a logger or forester on staff on your property, then you might be surpassed a visit request. But if you're a new landowner maybe and you're interested in like, well, what do I do with the property? How do I enjoy it?
Right.
What kind of woodland activities can I do?
Or I want to attract certain types of bird species or something.
Yeah,
right?
and that's something where just some conversation with another woodland owner can help tease out some things and get you on the right track to finding the resources.
So the intake form actually helps kind of form your questions as far as what you want from the visit as well.
Right.
That sounds like a really good program, and it sounds set up logically. How did that happen?
Incredibly, incredibly valuable, I think.
Right.
And there's so many people who own woods, in this area, and because it's such a forested area, and I think people really want to preserve it, and it's worth preserving, and it's a great resource to be able to take advantage of.
Yeah. Did we grill you on everything yet, Shane? I don't think we
You have
answered anything.
you have other questions you want us to ask you?
I think we kind
I
of
think we
covered
could.
a lot.
Covered it on.
We're also going to include all of the resources that we talked about in the show notes for
Yeah.
the episode. So
Do we
there'll
have
be
a
lots
list
of
of
links.
those?
Yeah, I think so. We're going to have a list from Shane.
We know
We're not going to let him leave the room.
No, we've got one.
Oh yeah, I have a ton of resources I can share with.
Because we put that on the webpage. That'll be great.
So Shane, I have to ask my question. I'm sorry I asked this of everyone. So the world is crazy, and I'm sure you see, we were talking before we got on about how it's kind of depressing in terms of some of the stats for forests and things like that. So in your day-to-day life and kind of dealing in your job, what gives you hope in the world?
Did you say what gives you hope?
Yeah.
Because I know you said what gives you hope is trees give you hope. I didn't
Trees
hear
do
that.
give me hope. Trees do give me hope, but you have to give your own answer. You can't take my answer.
Well, I really like that answer though.
Okay. You can agree with me. How's that?
What gives me hope is the fact that this program is people helping other people with no monetary value associated. I just really like the fact that this program is just this genuine sense of like transparency, sharing resources with fellow woodland owners. It's all about enjoying the woods and keeping the environment and forests healthy, thriving for the future. It's this general network of woodland enthusiasts that gives me hope.
I like that.
That's wonderful. It
That's
really
better
is.
than just trees.
And you know what? I think you all are having a real impact, really having an impact on the day-to-day basis. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for being here.
And may the network continue.
Thank
And
you.
thanks to our listeners, too. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Shane.
That concludes another episode of Nature Calls, Conversations from the Hudson Valley. We would like to thank Xander Powers and Devin Connolly from the Cornell Cooperative Extension of Columbia and Greene counties for production support. And a special thanks to our listeners for joining us on this episode of Nature Calls, Conversations from the Hudson Valley. You can find links to any of the topics mentioned in this episode at our website at ccecolumbiagreene.org. Comments and suggestions for future topics may be directed to us at columbiagreenemgv@cornell.edu or on the CCE Master Gardener Volunteers of Columbia and Greene Facebook page. For more information about CCE of Columbia and Greene, visit our website or visit in person during business hours at our campuses in Hudson or Acre. Cornell Cooperative Extension provides equal programming and educational opportunities.